extent of liability is something that is deterring younger generations from entering into our profession.
But there's a perception that the architect is the deep pocket defendant. Nobody can believe we don't make a lot of money.
So the engineer did not fight on our behalf. So they just threw us up front to talk to the client immediately. So
Threw you under the bus.
If you're willing to listen to me and we work together and you follow a timeline and don't try and do anything funny, I'll help you to untangle this mess that you're in now, you know.
Welcome to ArchitectuREAL, where we explore the real lives of architects and get real in the world of architecture. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for another episode of ArchitectuREAL. Real architects, real talk. Today we have Sri, Catherine and Pei Wen. And today we're gonna start off with a topic which is basically the topic will revolve around architects versus authorities and the law. So let's start off with the first question. It's about capping personal liability. Can an architect limit their liability to just fees or more? Can we put something in the contract to say that, okay, we just want our limitations of liability to whatever we collect as fees?
Yes. In fact, it's already in the SIA Blue Book. The Conditions of Appointment, 4th edition, already has a limit of liability which you can fill in the appendix. If you don't fill anything in, the default is whatever you've been paid to date. So that's already capped. Then, of course, your scope of service will limit your liability because you're only liable for the scope that you perform, right? So yes, absolutely. So that's why it's very important for you to vet your fee agreement. At the start of the project, don't wait until something's gone wrong, then too late already. Before you start a project, you must already lay down, you must know what your risks are, and then that translates to how much you quote your fee as well.
correct. I think in other public projects like GBs, most of the time government doesn't use back the SIA MOA, which is the
They don't use it at all.
They don't use at all, correct. And all the clauses inside doesn't even correspond to our SIA book. So what happened is sometimes they do put in, you have to have a PI, which is a professional indemnity of up to a certain value. So most of the cases, they would just put, say, 1 million. And if the project is bigger, they can actually ask for more. So it's up to us to talk to the banks to increase our PI or whatsoever lah.
But that's PI limit, right?
Correct.
But that doesn't mean that there will be a limit on your liability,
Correct.
right? I think quite often we see unlimited liability, etc.
Yep.
And in fact, just recently on the 17th of October, I think the Straits Times put out an article where I think it's kind of good news.
Yeah.
Right? They are going to remove that unlimited liability from 1st of December onwards.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Maybe Sri, you can...
I mean, that was more to do with unlimited design changes, right? Not liability per se.
No, it was unlimited liability.
As well.
From the unlimited liability clause, they're going to no longer have that.
I was mistaken.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, then I absolutely agree. I think that, I'm speaking from a kind of younger, smaller time practitioner. As what Catherine mentioned, like, normally you only look at these things when things go wrong, which is expected sometimes because we're eager to start the work, right? We don't expect things to happen the way they do.
Yep.
So I think things like this kind of are quite blindsided and quite unfair. So I absolutely agree that we should limit it in that way. More to the point, I think, about liability for larger projects, I think we also have to look back at precedents to see what is normally kind of enacted when you do pursue for liability before you start saying how much you actually want to hold the architect to. So I fully agree that they should look at it more closely.
Yeah, but there's a perception that the architect is the deep pocket defendant. Nobody can believe we don't make a lot of money. So they always think we have a lot of money and then, we are the first target to sue as far as the consultant team is concerned. So, at least now, at least the government has come to the table and realized that I wouldn't say it's unfair, it's that it's putting a risk which we cannot control. right? So normally in contracts, we talk about risk allocation and risk mitigation. So normally you allocate the risk to the party best able to manage that risk or mitigate that risk. But if you put something like unlimited liability and you leave it too open and you don't tie it sufficiently to the consultant scope, then all you end up doing is bankrupting the consultant, which doesn't really help anybody. Yeah.
I think what you mentioned earlier about the fees and deep pockets, right? I think all of us here can agree that's not true. So we need better fees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the other challenge also for when it comes to this liability, limitations of liability, another challenge is also insurance, right? Whether when there is higher limit, obviously your insurance going to cost
Your
more,
premiums will be
right?
higher.
Premiums will be
Yeah.
higher, and then some may not even want to take up your contract to do the insurance. So that actually is another challenge. I guess before we move on to the next question, one question I want to throw in is: do you think this whole liability thing and the extent of liability is something that is deterring younger generations from entering into our profession?
Maybe I let the younger one speak first. It didn't deter me.
Yeah, well, to answer the question, yes. So I was actually quite hesitant to actually do anything on my own for a long time because of things like this, and having seen how much we're held to account, right? Going back to what Catherine mentioned about the deep pocket kind of idea or narrative, that's one aspect of it. I think the other aspect is also clients always say, architects are the lead consultant, so they take full responsibility. I've seen a tender recently where I was asked to take full responsibility for sub-consultant's work, and I had to kind of work very hard to clarify that the engineer is liable for his own, responsible for his own work, right? So yeah, it's very frightening. I think especially now when projects are more complex, higher value projects, more parties involved. It's quite a deterrent to me, I think. Yeah, or rather you have to think very hard before you you do it, Yeah.
So I mean, because my company deals a lot with government tenders, a lot of times they don't change their terms and regulations, and all the time it's a fixed format. They copy and paste a lot. So to us, actually, we don't feel that it is a deterrence actually. Yeah, because basically to get yourself into trouble is not that easy, actually. So a lot of times when things happen, as long as you are able to explain yourself, you keep within the law, basic compliances, common sense, I think it's very, very difficult to drive you into a corner and fault you for everything that had happened on site. Yeah, so it's not that scary actually. That's our gut feel to what is happening out there. So sometimes when we see the tender and it feels like it's a little bit too stringent, we also knew at the back of our mind that it's just a copy and paste exercise that maybe say the government has done, and at the end of the day, as long as we are able to resolve the problem, it's actually not so onerous on us.
Okay, so I guess younger viewers at home can take advice on that and come on board this profession.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I started out, I was very naive.
Yeah.
So, idealistic, want to be an architect, all that. So I don't think about all this liability stuff. But over the years now, I've built up a very thick armor.
Wow.
And I think it comes with the territory. So it's something which I say, because I'm teaching at NUS as well. Spider-Man's uncle says, with great power comes great responsibility. But I prefer to look at it the other way. With great responsibility comes great power. So if we don't embrace that, we don't embrace our role and take on the responsibilities, then we cannot expect ourselves to be influential, right? As you say, you look at if you are doing a government project and then you look at the conditions, then you assess whether you want to, whether you can take that risk and then price for it. It's very difficult to prove negligence. But of course, they could drag you through a very long lawsuit, but hopefully, you don't need to go through that. But At the same time, everything comes with risks. And even if you're not an architect, let's say you don't want to be a QP, you just want to be an ID or something, you can get sued as well. Doesn't mean you're not an architect, nobody's going to sue you. They will sue you as well. Yeah.
That's true, that's true. So I suppose another layer of protection would be the kind of practice you're going to set up, assuming that you're going to set up. There are different liability and business types. So how does setting up as an LLP, sole proprietor, or private limited impact your risk? Yeah.
Okay, it really depends on how you operate. So for sole proprietor, basically, you are not a separate entity. So if you're sued, then they can go for your personal assets. So same with partnership, not limited liability partnership, but just a normal partnership. So a partnership is just another version of sole proprietorship with more people. Then the next one, if you go to limited liability partnership, then you're still personally liable for your own actions, but you're not liable for your other partners' actions, but they can still go after your personal asset. So if you want to protect your own assets, then you set up a private limited, then that entity is the one that's sued. Then they can't go after your personal assets. But let's say the company takes out some kind of loan, whatever, and then you're the guarantor, then you kena again. Yeah. But that's only company structure. But the other way to look at it is actually like I run a partnership with my partner who is also my husband. And because we are very hands-on, so we control everything. So for us, the risk is very low because we don't have a quality control issue other than the mistakes we make ourselves. Not that we are perfect, but we don't have staff, so we don't have that risk of the staff making mistakes. So it's really up to you. Like if you're doing things yourself and you know you are able to manage your risks, then maybe sole proprietorship and partnership is okay. There's less admin work, there's less reporting to IRAS and stuff like that. But then if you are sort of doing projects where you got lots and lots of people, lots of staff and all that, then you cannot be watching them all the time and you cannot be checking 100%. Then you want to look at a structure that is less risky to your personal assets. So there's no right answer, you know. It's just how you manage your risks.
Or risk appetite,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned just now about the private limited, right, which actually kind of separates you from the practice entirely. I guess one of the things that is a hurdle for a lot of people is obviously that because the private limited, you need a paid up capital of
$500,000, yeah, 500,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a time it was a million.
No.
Okay, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think for engineer side there was a time it was a million.
I don't,
They brought it down
don't know.
to
Yeah.
half a million. Okay, yeah. So that's just one of those things that really, I've spoken to a few friends who are looking at trying to start up. They really want to go into the private limited realm because of the distinct separation. But at least $500,000 is just one of those things that the biggest hurdle that they need to cross.
But you can have an asset as well. It doesn't have to be cash.
Oh,
so
okay.
like if you buy, say you buy your office, right, and then the value of your office is more than $500,000 or something like that. You can use that too. You don't have to have cash in the bank of $500,000. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the $500,000, the requirement?
Well, it's to protect the public because if they sue you, then there's something there. Otherwise, $1 company, then but ironically, for contractors, it's a lot lower. I can't remember the exact figure, but the paid up capital required for contractors is a lot lower. So when you look at in terms of capital, right, contractors need to put in a lot of capital to start because they need the equipment and they need a lot more. But strangely enough, the paid up capital requirement is a lot lower. So this is something which I've also questioned. But I think it's there for the protection of the public to make sure that the architect has reached a certain status or a certain stage in your career where you actually have $500,000 somewhere, so it's kind of, so that otherwise, wow, the moment you pass your PPE, okay, set up private limited already, and then $1, you know, and off you go. You can't do that now. Yeah.
I guess it kind of makes sense, because if you just start up, you definitely either got to work in the practice first, then come out as either sole proprietor or LLP, so that you, just because you are at risk, right? You might be more, you will do your best, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So another thing is, in the early days in Singapore, I think there are a lot of architects who practice without insurance. You know, so what are your thoughts on that? If that were to be able to be allowed today, or how is that even possible to practice without insurance?
It's allowed, unless you're private limited. Like sole proprietor, there's no indemnity insurance requirement by statute.
And then it depends on your client's requirements as well, right? So I believe for public sector, they do demand for a PI.
Yeah.
For private clients, half of them
They
probably
may
don't
not.
even know, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think to answer your question, a lot of times, even for example myself, just starting out, you wait for your first few commissions and use that payment to then buy your insurance, right? So, I mean, there is a kind of grey area where you're sort of operating before you start the actual project proper. But I think, I mean, it's just like buying health insurance, like you have kind of differing views on that as well, but it's for the better, I believe.
The premium is not that high.
Yeah, the premium
right?
is not very high.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very useful because there are instances where the PI will be invoked. Actually, we did had our PI invoked before.
Oh, really?
And it's over a very, I won't say it's a case that is totally our fault. But at the end of the day, when we talked to the insurer, he said, let's not fight it anymore, because the more you fight, the more cases it will evolve. And I think there's a lot of like lawyers involved, and there's so much paper writing. And so that was during our mediation period. We didn't really go into a formal mediation. We just talked to, the contract was actually under an engineer. So we are the sub-consultant to the engineer.
I see.
Yeah, so the engineer did not protect us and did not fight on our behalf. So they just threw us up front to talk to the client immediately. So
Threw you under the bus.
a little bit, yeah. So at the end of the day, there were certain mistakes made in the project. We caught on during the last stage when we are trying to TOP, and basically it was a fire non-compliance. So if you think about it, you made a mistake, you caught your own mistake. Why do you have to pay for your mistake? So the client was very insistent that this mistake was the architect's to bear, and therefore the VO to the contract was ours to bear also. So thinking about it, your fees is only so much, right? And then you have to pay for the VO works. And when we all know about like construction, how are we going to pay for building, you see, based on our mistake? So in the end, what the insurers say is, I think there is no point fighting, because we will go into further negotiations and arbitrations, adjudication, or even court. Let's just pay up.
Right.
But of course, there is a backlash lah. So we had to pay premiums for 5 more years. Yeah, higher, a lot higher, 5 times higher.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because they have to make back the money,
Correct.
right?
So, so actually, I mean, there's a balance to it. Whether or not you want to spend more money to fight this case, or you rather spend a bit more on the premiums and call it cost.
And be able to sleep at night.
That's why.
Yeah.
So it was bothering us so much over a few months.
Yeah.
Right, because of
and
this.
actually insurance will come in to pay for legal fees as well. So even if you're not at fault, but to fight it, insurance will come in to pay your legal fees up to your deductible lah. So you know, at least you have that comfort. Otherwise, the problem is not that you may make mistake. The thing is that everybody is more educated nowadays. So clients are more likely to sue or threaten to sue. Then at least if you know you have insurance behind you, you don't give up so easily. Because they tend to threaten you first and hope that you give in, right? So if you don't know and you're scared and you got no PI, then you might go, oh, okay, I will pay, right? Or sometimes they want you to refund your fees or something like that. So they try and twist your arm. So if you don't have this behind you, then you might get scared very easily, right? If you got the PI behind you, then you can stand firm and call their bluff. I had. She kept threatening me throughout the project, and I kept calling her bluff the whole time, right? And then she even one of the emails, she blamed us for everything and all that. Then one of the emails she accidentally copied to someone who wasn't in the project team.
Oh.
So I thought, I'll keep that, because if she sues me, I counter-sue her for defamation. So that's why I say I got very thick armor now, because having to deal with and things like that, you have to be able to recognize when they're bluffing. Yeah, they're just trying to get a discount from you or something. Yeah.
I think that's very important also. Like, I've also experienced one where I was having a conversation with the client. They were not happy about something, and they were threatening. They say, you know what? I'll talk to my lawyer. I said, please go ahead. I know that what I've done is okay, and I'm more than happy to engage a third party assessor to come in, and you know what? I'll pay for it first. But if it's proven that I'm not in the wrong, then you have to pay for the third party assessor. If you're okay, we can go ahead with it. So on the spot, call his bluff. So he backed down. He said, okay, I'll go back and think about it. So I think it's important that we know what we're doing, our rights, and things like that, to be able to handle difficult situations. I mean, with that, I think the next question is how to protect ourselves from litigation risk.
Number one is do your work properly, right? Don't take shortcuts. I think in the early 2000s, when people, at one stage, people were going off and getting MBAs, right? Even architects go and get MBA. Wow, then I want to grow my practice. Want to have contract staff, instead of doing the work yourself. You say outsource, that's the management. Then you just sit there and manage and make lots of money and outsource, right? To me, that's very, very risky practice. And plus, after some time, you forget how to do your work. Then you're in a very, very vulnerable situation. Because if your staff leave, then you're totally helpless, and then you don't know what they've done. And the track record that your company built up is not really yours. You actually don't know how to do those projects, So to me, it's a slippery slope. Yeah, so one of the reasons like my practice stayed small is, well, number one is we actually enjoy doing our work. So why do we want to get, like drawing, I enjoy doing drawing. So why do I want to hire a draftsman to draw for me? On the days when I want to concentrate on my drawing or modeling, I turn up the music and I'm having a good time and I'm drawing and I don't let anything disturb me. So I think enjoying your work, doing it yourself so that you build up your capability, that's the number one way to protect yourself from being sued. Then after that, if you happen to meet some who wants to sue you, at least you have the confidence that you did do your job properly, right? And you can defend yourself.
I think for me, coming from other practices, right, the key thing to protect yourself is don't overpromise, right? I've been in situations where we've committed to timelines which we know are not feasible, committed to kind of saying, okay, I think this one we can try and get a waiver, stuff like that. And then when eventually it happens that we can't, that's when the client's very disappointed, right? And I think rightfully so, because they'll take the tag, even if they know better, they'll say, you advise me, you're the architect, right? So I think you have to be very realistic, and to the point where you take the risk of saying, or them going somebody else because they don't want to go with you because you're being too kind of conservative even, right? But I think it's worth that rather than overcommitting, overstretching, and then realizing or hoping and praying that you get it and then you don't, right? Like TOP or anything like that.
Yeah. So I think it's also very important to be professional. So basically, we earn our QP through series of studies, series of tests, and interviews. I don't think we should be so negligent that we promise the stars and the moon and the sun. So I always tell some friends who are doing it on their own, don't take up all those reckless jobs. Don't go into a business where you for sure know that it's non-compliant. Why for you want to risk your license doing it, right? So there's no point in telling just because the client is an important person, there's no point telling them that this will work, definitely will work. I will help you to get this and that, but in the end, you know, it's all against the law. Like
Yeah.
if he has a building that is not declared before, you know that it is an illegal structure. Then just tell them, look, you only have two ways. One, you demolish and rebuild. If not, don't find me. Don't take the job.
By the way, in the SIA conditions of appointment, there is a clause that says that the client shall not give you instruction to do things that are non-compliant. So we actually put it there so that it becomes a breach of contract as well. Not only is it against the law, but it means that the client is in breach of contract. So you can get yourself out of it. You can, I mean, if it's really bad, you can say you want to terminate your appointment because clients breached the contract, right? So the blue book has got a lot of nuggets in there. Use it.
We should have a session just on the nuggets.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's very, very educational. I'm sure maybe some of the viewers may not even have realized that.
There are a
is
lot
something
of nuggets in there. Yeah.
I would like to hear more about that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, I guess, you know, when I first start out my own practice, also learn the hard way, right? When the clients ask for this and that, I mean, apart from not touching on the illegal works, but I think on realistic timelines or design style or even elements that you think that it may not be achievable, but because you want to have a happy client, you try to overcommit and overpromise, but only to have a very unhappy client at the end. So after, you know, once bitten, twice shy, now a client's come in, I'll just tell them straight up, I will tell you now cannot, okay, but I will try because I would rather you be happy at the end
Yes.
rather than you're happy now and you're upset with me at the end of the whole journey together.
Yeah. Give them all the bad news first.
Yeah.
And actually now, like the first few meetings with clients, we always tell them the way we work is we give you all the bad news at the beginning, you know.
Yes.
So and after that, everything else pales by comparison, right? Because you already gave them all the worst things that could happen, and then, you know. But I would say right now, I think authority submissions are really a minefield now because it's getting longer and longer and more complex. Yeah. So right now, like, if clients ask us when they can get TOP or when they can get whatever approvals, actually I don't even estimate anymore. I just tell them I don't know. Yeah.
It's, I fully understand that point, especially for like more complex projects or larger projects. Even a house project, I mean, the amount of back and forth for just submitting a self-declaration, right? Photographs can go back and forth and say, take another photo of this, or, you know, that kind of thing. So, fully agree. It's I think that's part of the educating of the client at the start. You kind of tell them this process is not so guaranteed, and we have to kind of walk with you along the way, but we won't run away, you know? Yeah.
So maybe some of you can share a bit of your experiences if you've worked on projects where there's a certain level of risk that you would have questioned yourself if you would have wanted to take such a job on or such a scenario on.
The riskiest one is taking over from another architect.
Right.
Watch out. In fact, that was a situation where I took over from another architect. We were introduced by the project manager. So I knew the project manager. So I thought, okay, you know, I know the project manager. But actually, like when some projects go awry, sometimes that's a warning signal. That, you know.
Is also taking on from another architect.
Yes.
So there's a trend to see, like, why do they sack the first architect? So we all know, like, all these kind of projects will be very dangerous. But, I mean, while working with him, it was very pleasant, all the way until tender was called. And somehow he talked to the contractor to lower the price. So when I read the tender, it was very weird. 10 columns, $1,000. Who can do this? Right? So I spoke to the contractor. I said, I don't want to kill you doing this job. I don't want to kill myself doing this job either. You better relook at the tender and give me a better cost.
Realistic cost.
Correct. So when it came back, the client was obviously upset because it burst his budget. And that's when things goes wrong. So there's a lot of things to learn from there. So he started calling me up, give me your drawings. So I want to pass it to the third architect. So okay, I gave him my drawings, but then he turned around and said, my drawings were inaccurate. So he actually wrote to URA and BCA and told them that I submitted wrong drawings, inaccurate drawings.
Oh my.
So without telling him, we went to check our drawings, what was wrong. He said some of the things are not aligned. My third architect has to redraw the whole thing. But the reason for redrawing is that he needs to redesign to lower his budget. So what we found out is the columns were shifted by 168 mm. Yeah. So URA wrote back and said, no issue, just do amendment submission. BCA wrote back, no issue, just do amendment submission.
Did you talk to URA and BCA as well?
No, we didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
So they made the call without us going to.
That's
so
nice to hear.
Yeah, the authorities are actually on our side. They know what is acceptable margin of error.
Exactly.
It's not like we are out there trying to lie or cheat our way through. So he even wrote to SIA, but I mean SIA took a different stance. He said, you can go and fight, you keep the money with me. So then he gave up. Yeah, so yeah. I think
But generally authorities don't want to get involved. Like if there's a commercial dispute between parties, generally the authorities don't want to know. They don't want to get involved.
To add on to what they're saying, I mean, one, taking a project which was held by a different architect or handled by a different architect, or what I'm experiencing now, or on the cusp of experiencing is taking a project where there was no architect. And and then the client goes, oh, you need to submit for this? Oh, I don't know that. Oh, I want to open my restaurant next month, you know, then there's no fire certificate and stuff like that. So going up to them and saying, so once again, it's a maybe, right? But going up to them and saying, you know, if you're willing to listen to me and we work together and you follow the timeline and don't try and do anything funny, I'll help you to untangle this mess that you're in now, you know? Yeah, but otherwise then I'll run away because that's quite a scary thing to face, right?
Yeah. And then of course the chop and sign ones are also, you may get a D&B contractor or somebody looking for an architect to chop and sign for them. Or sometimes they've already finished, you know, and then they want you to chop and sign. The construction already finished. I mean, a lot of the tenancy work like that, they've already finished. Then they look for somebody to, hey, you know, we haven't submitted FSD, can you?
Because the landlord's asking for it, right?
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, I actually need this, which is unfortunate because sometimes I think, you know, once again, it's educating a client. They don't know, right? As a business owner, you can just take the tag that I'm a layman. I got this building, I want to open up, you know, a bubble tea shop, and then I realized, I got all these submissions to make.
But interestingly, like I don't take on all this, you know, if they're just looking for somebody to rubber stamp. But interestingly, some years back, some manufacturer called us and then said they were audited by, or inspected by FSD, and there were some unauthorized mezzanines and stuff in their factory that they're looking for an architect to regularize. So I said, I'll come and have a look, but I may not necessarily be able to regularize it because if it's illegal and don't comply, you may have to actually take it down, right, and redo the whole thing. Then I didn't hear from them for a while. Then after that, I think a couple of months later, they confirmed our appointment. And then the facilities manager said, oh, actually our fee was the highest, but our fee agreement was the most detailed. So they could understand what we were going to do. And then the other quotes were lower, but they didn't give it to those architects because they wanted the building to be compliant.
Nice, Actually, that's a great point because actually a lot of times they want to operate. They want to do things above board, right? It's not, no one wants to be sneaky and like risk getting fined or put in jail.
And also to have a hazardous building because if you're non-compliant to the fire code, that means if there's a fire, somebody can die.
So with all the risks and all these things that could possibly happen, what happens when things start to blow up? Like, for example, there will be scenarios where you can smell it coming, right? Something that is, you know, already happening and brewing, and you're going to see guns pointing towards you. What would then be your advice to other architects? What do you do next? What is your first action?
If you see it coming, put it down somewhere in black and white and hope that that they either listen to you or it's on record, right? So then you can go back 3 months later and say, hey, you know, I said this, right? How much that can help you later on is debatable, but at least you said it, lah. right? And then it shows that you were aware and you're trying to circumvent it. I think that's a very clear thing to do. Second thing is, I think the severity of situations sometimes is not really understood or, kind of figured out by a lot of people. So there have been situations where I go, we need a meeting because there's a million things going on the site, right? When things are moving. So to go, okay, we need to stop and have like one afternoon or 1 hour meeting to talk about this major thing. And these are the repercussions, right? It's not just like one certificate that's not going to be obtained or whatever, right? There's a knock-on effect. Those are, I think, the two most like kind of diligent things you can do.
I think communication is key. Things don't go awry overnight. So it's a bit like the sinking of the Titanic, right? It's not one cause. It's a series of causes that lead to that. So when you're running the project, you have to pay attention. I mean, you first of all need to communicate well with all the parties. Make sure everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Then we can't deliver a perfect result. Nobody can. So when you see something going wrong, then fix it, right? Deal with it. The moment you find out something is wrong, deal with it. Let the client know while it's still, small enough that you can manage. The worst thing is sweep it under the carpet, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and then the whole thing explodes in your face. Yeah. So basically, like I would say, don't be afraid. Like if you make a mistake, don't be afraid. Just deal with it. Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
And the important thing is to own up if you really make a mistake. Don't try to cover it with something. But of course, that being said, I mean, we shouldn't shoot our mouths off and say that sorry, I made a mistake or whatever. At the end of the day, all these are things that we can explain away. There are certain rationales and thoughts behind certain way we do things, right? Cannot be you're so careless that you make a major mistake and everyone else is trying to go after your life because of
your
that.
insurer will tell you, just say without admitting liability.
Yes.
Right? So you say blah blah blah, and then you go and do this without admitting liability. Right?
And
so actually the insurers require you to mitigate also. So if you allow it to escalate, you don't mitigate, they may run away, they may not cover you.
I see.
So you also have to mitigate. You have to inform, like if you think something's going to go wrong, inform your insurer, but at the same time try to mitigate. And then chances are it doesn't actually escalate into a case.
Yeah, and the normal things that you do in daily life actually helps you to explain all these things, because things like meeting minutes, write meeting minutes, right? You can't have a conversation with a client without noting down certain things, and if all these are not documented properly, it's a lot of you say what, she say this, and finger pointing everywhere. And there are a lot of items or a lot of things along the way that documents a certain decision. Like if the client is there on site checking the things with you and choose to be on his handphone playing while you check the things together with them, they can't say that they don't know what is happening, right? So all these are good documentations that we need to keep along the way. Don't try to be lazy about it or write very short notes just because you want to get out of meeting right.
And actually minutes are the most valuable evidence. When you go to court, because it's contemporaneous, it's not something you made up after the event, but it's something that you recorded. And your minutes also help everyone understand the direction of the project, right? So, you can try and keep everybody on the same page just by writing your minutes in a clear way.
Photo taking, all these are evidence. So along the way, you can refer back to your photo. So every time something goes wrong, I'll go and dig history. So emails, WhatsApp, meeting minutes, all these are evidence that you have conveyed certain decision to the client. And usually what goes wrong is they will say things like, I didn't ask for this. Why do you do this? Right?
Or I didn't agree to this.
Then we will show them 10 iterations that they have kind of agreed to it.
I had a client who denied approving a sample. Then the contractor pulled out my minutes and said, here it is, you approved this.
And the other thing in the minutes, I mean, for most officers, that you actually have something in it, or when you circulate it, you say, if there are any errors or inaccuracies, please correct it within a certain time frame, right? And I think that's important.
In the first item of your minutes should be
everyone agrees.
Confirm the minutes of the previous meeting, or you put in the corrections. Right? Then that's it. Then You
I
know,
can't
speak
say.
now or forever
Forever
hold your peace, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, I was very lucky because when I first started working as a very junior architect, right, the first thing that I got to learn to do was the minutes. Thing. And my first immediate boss was just telling me how important it is.
Yes.
Because with the Spider-Man thing that you said
Yes.
earlier, I had a sense of power, you know, when I first started writing minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess next thing is you know, when things do blow up, I think insurance companies and policies usually they require you to inform them when something is going down south. At which point do you need to inform them? Do you know?
Basically, you as early as possible. I think you will know lah. You know, like if something is quite minor and you can resolve it, then okay. But you will know. You know, like you will know when it's a bit more serious. Then
Spider senses.
yes. Yeah.
Or when emails get a bit legislative, like they start writing in very legal jargon
Right.
about certain things, then
Yeah.
you know it's coming because they had someone look into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the language changes, that means they consulted someone.
Yeah.
But even then, like right now, because of my very thick armor, I actually don't like. I'm not afraid of those anymore because just because they're talking to a lawyer or whatever doesn't really mean anything. Because it's actually very expensive to engage a lawyer. So unless they have a really, really solid case, they are not going to sue you. So most of the time they are saber rattling, right? So it's okay for them to pay a few $100s to get a lawyer to write something threatening to you, but to carry it to the next level of actually litigating is very, very expensive. So if the amount that you're fighting over is very small, they're not going to sue you. They're definitely not going to sue you. You know, if they are just trying to extract a discount from you or things like that, then just, you know, like,
Stand your ground.
yeah, stand your ground.
I got a
you know,
feeling Catherine's really good at
so-
poker.
She's very good at calling people's bluff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that comes with, of course, experience.
Yeah,
and,
it
you
takes
know,
time. It takes
yeah.
time, yeah.
Okay. Copyright. Okay, next question is copyright laws. How to prevent reuse of design, and does the design belong to clients?
No. Well, if you're using the blue book, the copyright is yours. Even if you don't use the blue book, by default, the one who produced the work owns the copyright. So unless in the beginning of the job, your client said they want to own the copyright, then of course you sell them the rights, you increase your fee, but otherwise it belongs to you. Yeah.
Because I think the default copyright law in Singapore works that way as well. The other thing is copy, or rather reuse of the design, when they reuse your design somewhere or somebody just use your design somewhere else. Obviously no one is going to copy outright 100%, right? I guess what we hear a lot is taking inspiration, the term of taking inspiration. But to what level would that then kind of breach that copyright?
It depends. Now I sound like a lawyer. It depends. The thing is, anytime you want to sue someone, you have to prove your loss, right? So the question will always be, even if you prove that they copied your work, but what loss did you suffer? Then you're going to have to be able to quantify it, right? You want to sue someone, okay, but how many dollars you want? How do you want to be compensated? You know, so that would be a big question mark. So maybe even if the building looks a bit like you're building somewhere else, but very hard for you to prove that you suffered some kind of loss because,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
I mean, I think it's an interesting conversation. Right? How do you determine what is copying or adopting, right? And I think what happens normally is that the conversation doesn't go so much to the courts, but it goes onto maybe nowadays social media, and people say, hey, this guy copied my project, and look at it, exactly the same. And what you're saying is you're not really talking to them, you're talking to potential clients and saying, listen, I'm actually the guy who came up with this, not that guy. You know?
But then the guy who came up with the other one might then look at you and say, hey, what are you saying about me?
Of course, yeah, and then
right?
it gets very dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you get sued by that guy too. You know? Yeah.
So it sounds like there's not a lot we can do if somebody.
If it's really obvious, like they just took an identical, I mean that actually happened to my partner, but he didn't do anything about it. On the same site, the client built a second building, which was exactly the same as the first. Just took the whole thing and went boom, another one. Yeah, but you know, he didn't sort of pursue them. It all goes back to how much loss you suffered. Yeah, whether you think it's worth pursuing. Everybody has a right to sue somebody in court, but what do you want to get out of it, right? If you win, what does that mean to you? Yeah.
I thought there's another important thing is that you shouldn't even give design without being paid for.
Oh yes,
Oh, absolutely.
of course.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, when you try to sue for copyright, it's because maybe you have given a design without getting any
They
Right,
take
right.
it another
remuneration
point.
for it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
then you feel that, oh, he's copying me because I already gave a design. So like what SIA stands for, we shouldn't even give design, even upfront or whatsoever. Then there's no way to copy you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have given a design, you have been paid for it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think there is no loss to it lah. Not so much loss. I mean, unless the site next to you fits completely perfectly
Yeah.
to your building, that you can
Yeah.
just plonk it over,
Yeah.
and then you just gotten lucky lor.
Yeah.
But in Singapore, not so easy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's actually a really good point, because most of the time that's the period when clients typically like really kind of drag things out, right? And they say, okay, I'm going to appoint you, but do the design first, lah. You know, don't
Correct.
delay. Yeah.
Don't fall into that trap. Yeah. Just tell them bye-bye. Yeah, don't fall into that trap. And here's another opportunity to tell you another nugget.
Right, okay,
in
I'm ready for the nugget.
in the conditions of appointment. So if you look at the way you how to confirm your appointment, it's not just by signing. So they can either sign or they can continue to give you instruction to perform work, or they can allow you to keep on doing work, or they can pay a deposit. So there are several ways to confirm your appointment under the Blue Book. And that actually helps you to filter out clients who are not serious, right? So typically what I do with new clients is I go through the different methods of confirmation with them, right? So that they understand that if you continue to ask us to perform work, that means you have confirmed our appointment, even if you haven't signed. And that is a very good filter for those who are not serious. Because after that, they don't call us and we don't call them. Yeah.
I am genuinely enjoying this series because I feel like every episode, right, I'm learning so much. Okay, so I mean for me, we've done works for, sometimes we do like interior also lah. So we've done some for example franchise brands where they want us to design. In fact, they were starting up and they have plans to do more outlets. So they asked us to engage us to do one of the shops and everything. So then my question in my head was, what's next then? Like, what if I design this and then they're just gonna copy and paste everywhere? So in essence, I was designing not just for that shop. It would have been like a branding guide even, maybe for their setup of the store. So I think what I added in was like they were not allowed to copy, whether entirely, in part or in whole. So whether there's anything. But then again, so far I haven't run into a situation where I could test whether that phrase made any difference or not. Yeah.
Or you could offer to come up with a branding guide. Like that means you increase your fee.
Yeah.
And you say, I'll do this one, but I will also give you, you know, like if you do a McDonald's outlet, right?
Yeah.
They'll give you all the standard details from McDonald's. Right? Your M must be this size and this color and blah, blah, blah. Right? So you could also offer your service that way. Like give the client more than what they ask for. If you see it, you look at their situation, then you go, hey, actually, not only can I do this particular outlet, I can also give you a framework that you can then implement at other outlets. You know, then you increase your scope that way.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
I shall try that in the next such
Yeah,
opportunity.
it's always about what value you bring to the client, right? I mean, you put yourself in their shoes. Why would they pay you? They'll pay you if they are benefiting from it, right? They won't pay you, you know, like we cannot go to our client with a sob story and say, oh, my job is so hard, I got to do so many submissions, blah, 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 please pay me more. What client is going to pay you that, right? Same thing is if you go to, let's say you go to a restaurant and the chef comes out and say, you know, this dish is so hard to make, you know, I had to spend so many hours making the stock and blah, blah, blah. Do you really want to know? You actually just want to taste it, right? And you don't want the chef to come and tell you, wow, very hard to make this thing, you know? So as architects, we got to, you know, have more like pride and then think from the client's perspective. How would the client see it? Why would the client want to pay you more? You must deliver value to them, value that they can see. And then they pay you more. They don't care how many hours you spend. They want the product to be beneficial to them.
So another question is, of course, one thing that we are very used to or rather familiar with already, you know, there's always changes in regulations. So I guess the next question is how to navigate and comply with the tsunami of regulations and constant, I guess, circulars, you know, new updates and etc. I mean, we also see more and more self-declaration. Is it humanly possible to keep up with all these updates? How do you deal with it?
We can only update ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
There's no choice about it. So courses, seminars can make it easier.
For me, I kill two birds with one stone because I happen to teach at NUS as well. So, and I run the same course over for both semesters. That means I do the same course twice. So I use that opportunity when I update my lecture notes and slides. I use that opportunity to go through the circulars. And update my office library. So that kind of keeps me on this regular thing lah. But I think that I believe YAL has got a group of architects, right, updating things, something like that. So like an organization like SIA could have you know, people sharing resources and making so that not everybody has to do the same thing over and over. So, you know, if we kind of collaborate and come together so that we can help each other and share the resources, then I think that will help the industry. Other than that, you know, it's very, very difficult right now. I really feel sorry for people entering practice now because it's like they're, you know, confronted with this all of a sudden, you know, like I guess for me, I went gradually from the paper version to the CAD version to the BIM version. So it was gradual for me. But I think, yeah, it's very, very tough for people entering now.
It's also exposure, right? Doing the work which requires you to be engaged with all the topics, right? So that it's not something you leave after 3 months, then you know you go and revisit it again. And I think, yes, you're right, Catherine, like absolutely, it's quite overwhelming for younger architects. They need to take a bit longer to get, you know, to the QP kind of stage, I think, or they should. But I think it's also, I mean, to commend or to give some credit to the agencies, they do make resources available. I mean, the circulars are coming out regularly. Fire code now is much more easy to navigate than, you know, when I first started practicing. Yeah, so, but once again, I think you have to keep looking at these things over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah, and technology is it can help you, but it can also be I mean, it's a double-edged sword. So you can use it to help you, but it's basically a multiplier. So if you are very organized, then it will help you to become more organized. But if you're very disorganized, then it will make you 1,000 times worse.
So it's actually easier if you understand the basis of the code. So you try to find some meaning to why do they write it in such a way or that. So when they change, at least you can update your thinking a bit. But most of the time, like what you said, if it's in a digital format, young people tend to just type the keywords.
Search keywords, yeah.
Yes.
So it creates a tunnel vision thing
Yes.
where
Yeah.
you're just looking at certain clause without context,
Yes.
and that is not good. So essentially, because maybe we come from way behind, you know,
Yes.
we know
Because we
what
already
is
know,
what is the basis,
Yeah.
why do they do it this way, when they add on certain things due to amendments, due to making it better or clearer for the code, it is a lot easier to understand. So that's what I find a bit lacking nowadays. So what we try to do in office is we do sharing sessions. Yeah. So sharing sessions help. I think the bigger office, they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in small offices, we try to do that. And of course, if everyone, like say, assign a topic to a younger person, you know, you can research on that topic itself, like fire, and
Yeah.
then start to say
Yeah.
chapter 2, what is happening, chapter
Yeah.
3, what is happening. So everyone learns from each other.
Yeah, actually on the fire code, I think what SIA does very well as well is every year they have the seminar, right? The
Yes.
big one,
Yeah,
the full
the
day thing.
update, yes.
Yeah, which is I mean, it's a lot to get through, but it's very, very useful. And I think it's very helpful that different people speak on different topics, right? Yeah, and give you all the context as well. Yeah.
I've actually drawn a mind map of the fire code for the students. Yeah, so actually in drawing that mind map, it helped me to understand the fire code. I find, I mean, like actually our brains are attuned to a graphical format rather than, you know, a written format. So usually what I recommend to anyone trying to understand anything is draw it. You know, like what is the logic of this? If there are so many intertwined clauses, then how are they actually interrelated? When you start drawing the mind maps, then you start seeing the relationships. Then it doesn't become this dry thing where you're just reading clause by clause by clause. Yeah, so it helps a lot to draw time sequences, draw the logical relationships between the various clauses and whatever.
Yeah, and discussion with peers. So I thought during back then when we were preparing for PPE, for QP exam, we had a study group.
Yeah.
So it helps a lot when you talk to different people, understand what kind of projects they are doing, and then how does the regulation apply in certain contexts. I think it's there's limited things you can do in our lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So you will never meet another
And volunteer
project.
for the committees. Because when you work in the committees, then you meet other architects and you learn from each other.
Yeah.
Then if something goes wrong, you got a shoulder to cry on. Yeah. So it's important to sort of be in touch with your peers. Yeah, not work alone. Yeah.
So yeah, we should definitely help each other out and make sure that we all stay up to date. Another thing is, do you guys think that the definition of a qualified person has changed over the years, or will change in the coming future?
Well, first of all, what do you understand to be the definition of a qualified person?
Wow. Interesting question. I got maybe. Wow, it's quite comprehensive, right? for basically what a qualified person is.
If I can add into that, I think to me it's interesting that it's actually quite clear and kind of cut off, right? Like this is the responsibility of a QP. And if anything, I have full faith that kind of scope of work will remain. It might morph and take on a few more responsibilities. I mean, like you mentioned, the code's always changing. I think the basic essence of being a representative for the client and engaging with the agencies for statutory matters will be the crux of it, and the basis of it, right? And I think that will always be the case because there's a need for that kind of person to exist, lah. We've talked about how some clients don't even know what they need to do, right, when they get a property or they develop a property. So I think that's I have confidence, lah, at least. So I don't know if I'm just optimistic here, but I think that's something that will remain. Yeah.
What do you understand a qualified person to be?
Well, I mean, it is largely defined by the whole process of getting all this certification. I mean, we are put through the whole system of the courses, the understanding of the regulation, the understanding of contracts, in order to go through this test, and somehow someone gives you the badge, you know. You're qualified now. So I mean, it is a mixture of experiences, how you handle things. If you can answer someone coherently about what is roughly the correct way to do things, you can be a qualified person. It's not that hard actually. And to me, it's like a driving license. You know, as long as you know how to operate the vehicle, you have a driving license. So as long as you know how to operate the code, the contract, you are qualified. But of course, I mean, there are different types of qualified person as well. So we can only say that it's largely defined by the parameters that we have already set out to, you know, to label this person as a qualified person. Yeah. So whether or not you are one or you are not one, I think it's just in your good interest to do good for the project. Yeah. So even, I mean, I have seniors who doesn't want to be QP, but they are more than qualified. Do we call them qualified person? They will say, no, I'd rather not, because it doesn't come with the responsibility. They don't want to get it, because I don't want to be responsible for all the actions that the QP did. Yeah.
Well, fundamentally, we are agent of the state. We're actually representing the government. We're like the bridge. So we're the bridge between the masses and what is required. And what is required is tied to policy. So it's from the policy that it trickles down, you know, through a statutory act being passed. Then it trickles down to the subsidiary legislation, trickles down to the codes and standards and whatever. And then when we design, we have to translate all these codified requirements into this physical thing that we are designing. And then when it's built, whatever is codified here has to manifest itself physically. So that's our job, actually. So from all these words, these dry words, it can become this amazing building that's safe for people to occupy, you know, and is economical, fulfills client's brief, etc. So I think it's a very special function and a very valuable one. It's not about ticking boxes, it's not about submissions and compliance and stuff, it's much bigger than that. Yeah, so, and I also, like, there's been, you know, sometimes there's discussion, sometimes architects say, they don't want to do all this, why not have just someone who specializes in, you know, like architect of record in the US, right? Why not just have someone do submissions? But can you imagine, I mean, that to me would be a very boring role, right? I don't know, for me, I rather work more holistically. Like, if I know the codes, then when I design, I got the codes at the back of my mind. But I can still do what I do, right? I can still make something beautiful or nice with that code. And I certainly don't want to just design without knowing the codes, then give it to somebody to mangle my design because they're trying to make it comply, right? So I still think that the human brain, right, we have this ability to mash this stuff together and then somehow come up with this thing, you know. So far, I think, like, one of the conversations, like, oh, is AI going to take over our role and this kind of thing? I don't believe it can, because real life is just too complex and too variable for AI to be able to come up with something in a way that a human can.
Just to add to that point, I think an old boss of mine shared this with me when I was very young, or younger. He said it's actually about responsibility, right? The design aspect as well as the statutory aspect. You can't, you know, push them apart. Yeah, because what you're designing, you have to take responsibility for that as well. If you're not going to do that, then you shouldn't submit as well, right? Regardless. So, yeah, fully agree.
Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you all for sharing your, you know, experience and knowledge on this session. I hope that the viewers at home have gained some valuable insights. Do join us for the next episode that is coming out soon. If you have liked the session today and find it useful and helpful, we would really appreciate if you would like and subscribe to our channel so that it will encourage us to continue doing what we do and bring more exciting topics to you.